afternoon and welcome to our lunchtime news here on UBC TV. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa. In the effort to fight the increasing cases of duplicating UNBS certificates and factory products, the Ministry of Trade and Industry has warned those involved in these vices of dire consequences. The Minister for Trade and Industry, Amelia Chamba, made the remarks during a press conference in her office here in Kampala. We apologize for that. We'll have that story in our subsequent bulletin or later on in this very bulletin. Experts have warned on the continued misuse of fertilizers affecting climate change. They say some fertilizers contain dangerous chemicals that increase greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This was raised in the assessment engagement of the CRAFT project by SNV Netherlands Development Organization and calls for proper sensitization to farmers about fertilizers on the market have also been raised.
Adoption of climate-smart and ecologically sustainable production methods is key to improving productivity of the existing food crop methods and supply systems.
Across the value chain, right from the time of planning for land preparation, planting the crops, crop agronomy, harvesting, up to processing, there are specific practices which we call climate-smart practices that can be used. And they are also affordable. And these practices differ depending on the geographical location of where the farm is located.
Scientists believe that market-driven adoption and scaling of inclusive climate-smart business development and the proper use of fertilizers will enhance climate resiliency along with the selected agricultural value chains.
Inefficient fertilizer use ends up contributing to the emissions of greenhouse gases and specifically nitrous oxide. Another way is the organic fertilizer and specifically manure. Poor manure management ends up contributing to the emissions of these gases, specifically nitrous oxide, even methane into the atmosphere. So there is a need to use the inorganic fertilizers and also the organic manure or the organic fertilizers in a way that will make them not lead to greenhouse gas emissions.
The SNV Netherlands Development Organization is implementing CRAFT project to influence climate-resilient value chains for improved livelihoods.
We use agribusinesses, SMEs, small and medium enterprises, as the entry point, as we consider them the potential change agent that has a push and pull effect within a selected targeted value chain, whereby they can provoke change. So,
among the services to farmers through Rabobank is financial literacy and the connection to local financial institutions for agribusiness boosting.
If they understand what their future clients are facing, then they can think with them. So they can then assess a loan application in the perspective of climate change. And that's what we are talking about. The more risky it is here, the higher the pricing should be.
Farmers need to use fertilizers moderately to allow soils replenish nutrients naturally. Abdul Nasir Lubwama for UBC News.
Fishery officials have impounded 280 kilograms of premature fish in Kasese district during an operation by the Fishery Department in a period of less than 1 week. The commander of the Fisheries Highway, Kasese Afandi John Behumbiza, said that these operations will continue until people stop trading in premature fish in the Rwenzori region.
So when you check on the camera, you need to check him or you say where?
Do you know there's some people you can say, me, I'm a big boss, I'm a doctor, whatever. It's a purpose to the patients. For the patients. I agree with me. That exercise cannot end. This is embarrassed. It's embarrassed when you achieve our water to get more than fish and more than fish.
Bakanga wewe nyuma bali na nyanja nene wana rekodi watuna 27% nayo bali na 73%. Ate kama kanunda katulima katona ayo 27% yetulima tugulwanira muna bakoko nasa batwariza kubi mwe batera n'amasasi kandi binamizi mingi negasinga agitu nkana batumba barwo abo biza kuno bikomwe n'abasirikare batuyambira kunonga kubakwata.
The public has been warned against buying huge chunks of land in the proposed oil pipeline route with an intention of profiteering. This was at the first Environmental and Social Impact Assessment public hearing on the East African crude oil pipeline in Kakumiro district. Dennis Sigoa was there, and here he reports.
Downstream phase of the oil and gas public hearing has commenced in Kakumiro district. The public turned up to interact with stakeholders in the East African crude oil pipeline drawn from the private and public sector.
We are currently dealing with the East African crude oil pipeline. Is actually a commercialization project. So once this crude has been produced from the different fields, then it is taken through the feeder pipelines to a central hub in Kabale, and then subsequently for this project, in order to access the international markets, we have to have this pipeline so that the crude can now be exported through this pipeline to Tanga port. So the different projects have different EIAs, and we require different EIA certificates, and so these have been done separately.
Kakumiro district is one of the 10 districts where the 296 kilometers heated pipeline will pass. State Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, Peter Lokeris, cautioned the public from buying big portions of land on the pipeline route with expectation of profiteering.
People are buying huge chunks of land. I don't know why. So I was telling the people here, don't sell your land for nothing. Those of you where the pipe is passing, whatever you get as compensation, use it to develop your area adjacent to the pipeline. So we in Kampala, whenever we hear there is something to gain up country, that is when we all come from Kampala to try to buy. We say go slow that way.
Some of the major concerns raised by the public is the delay in land compensation and environmental degradation.
The issue of compensation is still a very big problem, because ever since people have already stopped them from using their land, that they have already earmarked the pipeline is going through here, but up to now those people have not yet been paid, and still they are not using their land.
In terms of the progress of the industry as a whole, to us as civil society, we feel it has resulted into people becoming pessimistic and losing hope in the process, because we started with early oil project which said oil would come even before 2012, then we pushed to 2017, we pushed to 2022, and now to an uncertain date pending the final investment decision of the companies.
EACOP system is a planned export pipeline that will transport oil from Kawale Industrial Park in Hoima district to the port of Tanga in Tanzania. The ongoing environmental and social impact assessment public hearing organized by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda is an analytical process that systematically examines the environmental and social impacts of the proposed project, evaluate alternatives, and design mitigation measures. Dennis Igoa for UBC News in Kakumiro district.
The National Resistance Movement has embarked on the voters' verification exercise. Speaking to journalists at the NRM headquarters in Kampala, the National Treasurer, that is Rose Namayanja Nsereko, says that the verification is to make sure that people who don't live in particular areas or the deceased do not appear anywhere on the voters' register.
Time has come when, as a party, we are counting on our vigilance to mobilize all our structures, members and supporters to ensure the successful implementation of an important milestone on the roadmap to the 2021 electoral cycle. The Independent Electoral Commission has released guidelines in respect to the above important subject matter as part of its national roadmap in preparation for the general elections in 2021. First, with the clarion call for bringing services nearer to the population, the National Resistance Movement-led government has, since the last display of the National Voters Register in 2015, created new local governments and administrative units, and in the process adjusting boundaries of some of the existing local governments and administrative units. The findings of an on-the-spot research recently conducted by the NRM Secretariat confirmed that many of our members and supporters alike do not know whether their villages have been affected by the demarcations resulting from the creation of new local governments and administrative units. As a direct consequence of the creation of these local government and administrative units, some villages now form part of the new parishes, while others have had their names either changed or have been split to create new all additional villages. Therefore, this exercise by the Independent Electoral Commission is designed towards aligning the National Voters Register to the changes mentioned above, and should be fully supported by the National Resistance Movement and all other democracy-loving Ugandans. Secondly,
that's the Honorable Rose Namanyan Sereko, the Treasurer, National Resistance Movement. This weekend, the King of Alur, Philip Olaker Launi, will mark 9 years since he was installed as the cultural leader there. Preparations to mark the anniversary of the coronation are complete at the Kingdom's Palace in Zombo District. The Coronation Anniversary Organizing Committee Chairperson Grace Freedom Kuyuchenyi says that the coronation ceremony needs 100 million shillings.
This is Aluru people's favorite traditional dance, Agwara. The name is derived from instruments used to play the music, which is made from the horns of an animal. They are usually in many numbers blown by strong men to produce the sound in combination with the drums and shakers tied around the legs. They are played as days draw closer to the coronation ceremony. The Alur Kingdom's 9th coronation ceremony is due this weekend.
The king has invited kings from Acholi, from Japadola, from Busoga, from Buganda, from Bunyoro, from Toro, and they have confirmed they'll be coming. So we are looking at a big thing, a big intervention by the chiefs, the cultural institutions, but also by the people of the Greater Nebi and the neighboring districts.
The coronation organizing committee chairperson Grace Freedom Kuyuchenyi says the coronation ceremony needs close to 100 million.
Instead of doing it just for one day, it's going to be 3 days. People will arrive on Friday evening. People will be hosted to dinner. The king will host his subjects to dinner. The following day it will be celebrations. There are competitions going on in singing the Alur anthem, in football.
For UBC TV News, I am Philip Aguta.
Check target. Dial star 1625. Get 100% on data and bonus. Win instantly with Mega Master Pay. Just recharge and hit your target. Kati Richawati. Mega.
Mega Masape from Airtel is back. And everyone, we mean everyone, gets a bonus. All you have to do, check your target, recharge, get 100% bonus on data and minutes. Dial *162# today to know your target.
Airtel, the smartphone network. This weekend on UBC.
My name is Nkayo Hannington, winner of the NSSF Friends with Benefits Season 2.
Congratulations, Hannington!
I used my winnings to boost my agricultural production and give a chance to the people in my community to work.
So join us this year for the third season of the NSSF Friends with Benefits, as 16 Ugandans share inspirational stories on how they use their NSSF benefits to do life-changing things. So tune in every Sunday with your host, Gaetano, and I, and special new host, Uncle D. It's another incredible display. It's the NSSF Friends with Benefits.
And that's not all. You have the power to vote for your favorite stories to win up to 55 million shillings, just like Hannington. This show is brought to you by
NSSF, a better life.
Yes, we'll now have international news, and there a first story there. United Nations member states will hold training courses to prevent WMD proliferation. Let us look at that first.
Preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery are two necessary steps towards regional and global peace. That's the focus of more than 20 UN member countries and organizations in the Asia-Pacific region who have joined together to share their concerns and to better implement UN Resolution 1540.
To tackle such global challenges, it is indispensable to pursue multilateralism under the guidance of the UN and with the solidarity of all UN member states.
Officials say China will not deviate from the overall objective of non-proliferation, nor will it scale down its non-proliferation efforts. They also mentioned actions like the U.S. unilateral withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal is destroying global collaboration in this regard.
I wish to emphasize that in an age of globalization and in face of widespread security threats, no country can be safe on its own. And the global endeavor of non-proliferation won't be effective without international cooperation.
Officials also say a more inclusive environment is necessary to ensure all countries can enjoy the benefits of the peaceful uses of science and technology.
Zimbabwe is printing new banknotes to ease cash shortages in the country.
Persistent cash shortages have turned currency into a commodity that people are buying at a premium on the black market. To address the misnomer, more banknotes are being printed, a move that shouldn't have adverse impact if everything goes as planned.
A lot of people still have that the former governor of the Reserve Bank, Gono era, were printing, he would print notes to pay for goods and services, which is different from what the current government is trying to do, where we are printing notes in exchange for electronic money. So it's like banks who exchange electronic money that they have in their accounts and get notes, cash, and notes and coins into the banking system, which is different in terms of inflation. It doesn't cause inflation.
But people here who've been burnt before are still apprehensive.
We have got a worry that as a market, the government may not be able to adhere to the printing limits that they set. Because if you look at it, they're supposed to print probably up to 10% or 15% of the broad money supply, which is up to about 2 billion. But the danger is that they will print more than the 2 billion.
Another concern is keeping the new currency in the formal system. Because of Zimbabwe's highly informalized economy, whatever notes and coins are in circulation may end up here, on the streets, exchanging hands outside of the banks. That would require enforcement of banking regulations.
We have got the laws which we should be able to use to make sure that people actually bank their daily takings, but they haven't been used in the past years.
The recent introduction of laws that tighten currency flows have elicited a public outcry, a response that reflects a lack of confidence, the other currency that's indispensable if economic stabilization efforts are to succeed.
There's a recycling fair held in Côte d'Ivoire to promote waste management. Let us see that as well.
These are some of the products made from recycled materials, and the Abidjan Recycling Fair sought to celebrate the initiative and creativity of those behind these items, as it also pushes for management of all kinds of waste through recycling.
This here is a pair of recycled shoes. We picked them up in the trash. As you see, they are already worn and faded. We recycle them, cover them and give them a new and better look. This way, someone else can wear them again.
I work with these objects that I recycle. I go to the trash in the streets to collect things that seem useless to many, such as bags, boxes and so on. I am a stylist, so I work on these objects and give them added value. It is rare to see this kind of show in Africa, so I came to participate in this show to create a network and display my creations.
In Côte d'Ivoire, the major stakeholders in recycling are mostly from the informal sector. But according to experts, this sector can generate up to $3.7 billion annually and create thousands of jobs if well harnessed.
That is all we had for you this afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get back to you with other news in Kiswahili, Luganda, and English at 8 and 10. Michael Jordan Lukomwa is my name. On behalf of the whole team here, enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.